Hello, good morning. Not sure I'm quite ready for this today. Still kind of sleepy. How you doing, online? How was your weekend? Okay, so add post. Um, I'm going to copy all that. I remember. I'm trying to remember what I was doing last week. With reference, Postgre. Pretty nice. Got a couple of things off my plate. Yeah. Yeah. Stream API. Nice. That's good. Dot wait for API. Yours, I saw you go live and was looking. Yeah. Silly, good afternoon. How you doing? Yeah, I decided to start up a stream on Saturday because I was sat here and I wasn't being very productive or focused. So I decided to kick up a stream and get some of the Liquid Sky stuff done. So I got teams associating with users in the UI of Liquid Sky. So now you can go in and update your user and select the teams they're associated with. So, okay. Oh, no, you can't do that either, can you? Stream it at API. I don't think, can you do that? Yes, maybe. It's very finicky, this, I find. Actually, how are they doing that? How is that attribute working where it's regexing it? Resource name. That must be doing some, huh? iModel name parameter. Must be some code generation going on there that's providing some validation because it's checking the string. Ooh, that's something to look into. From a documentation perspective, I like that idea. I'll have to dig down into that piece. Because being able to do that and create a compiler warning. But I think it won't even like that. Stream API. Wait for I'm doing this a little bit prematurely because I know where I left this last week. So last week we got the functionality working for the tags. Last week, 2 weeks ago, almost. I forget I took the entire of last week off. Sorry. So we got the tags in, and I started to flesh out the API. I think where I'm taking this, the initial build is basically the structure I need to be able to put the site live. I think that's what this has got to be, right? Because I want to put this up on developers.stream. The source code, fully available, share everything all the time. but I want to put this up on developers.stream. So to be able to get this to a point where, I'm happy, because I've been thinking about it, like when is the right time to say, yeah, anyone can contribute, right? Well, I think I need to get it to the point where I'm at least comfortable with where it is, to provide the basics of a deployable site that I can then put into production as such. Apologize, sat awkwardly. I have a dog sat between my feet. So what we were working on last week was getting an API in place that would allow us to query and also validate the API key, right? Right now, it has to have an API key, right? That's the thing. So let's see if this even starts up and then go from there. That's not a good sign. What don't you like there? Let's do this. Slash services down. Bring down liquid sky stuff, just in case that's causing an issue. Although this has failed to bind to 21.230. Come on, dogs. Okay. I don't believe that was caused by what I just did, because I think 21.230 is, yeah, it's the dashboard here. So I don't believe anything I'm doing here is the problem, but yay. Failed to bind to address. You don't touch something for a week and it just breaks. Is it a .NET host that's holding onto it, is the question? Or is it a... Dota, thank you very much for 21 months. Appreciate it. There shouldn't be anything using that port. The machine's been restarted since this last run as well. I've shut it down twice. So let's go find out. Let's go find it. On Windows again. It happens. I really need to turn focus mode off this. Get. I may have done this before. 21.230. Yes. That says nothing's running on it. I'm more of a gamer than a weekend coder, I guess. I mean, I did my mix of this weekend. I got Liquid Sky stuff done, and I got a lot of gaming, and I got a lot of Gran Turismo. Um, Failed to bind to address, so nothing's running on it, or according to that, nothing's running on it. Let's have a look. Net start minus A minus B. Nope. That definitely show it. Nope. So failed to bind. Yeah. Yeah, it's only a PlayStation 1, that one. Sony haven't quite opened that up yet, I don't think. Hey, Mr. Jones. Sorry, didn't get your name in there. So yeah, I did the stream on Saturday, got the users able to be assigned to teams in Liquid Sky. Then also played a lot of Gran Turismo, some hockey, uh, the Precinct, which is a fun little game. Yeah. Really? Oh yeah. First person in a long time to confirm that the notifications actually get read. I think it's like 45% of followers um have notifications turned on, and I put quirky stuff in there all the time. And today I just didn't think to update the notification. And you read it. Awesome. Might do it that way from now on. Just put a random day in there. Not even listening to me. Oh my goodness me. I did not want to start the day like this. Come on. Failed to bind to address normally means the port is in use, but port is not in use. I'm trying to fix my SQL server that seems to be stuck in an upgrade loop. Oh dear. It's that one. The OTLP endpoint URL. On. Hold on. Uh, let's try. No. No, Prometheus isn't running. I'm a geek. Good afternoon. Um, I hope you can go home. So we're launching this one, but it won't bind to OLTP. I mean, I can change that, but I don't necessarily want to. So it's not the host that's failing to start up, it's the OLTP. I mean, I can download the sysinternals tools, but at this point, I mean, it's just a UI on top of something that's going to tell me the same thing, I would imagine, but we will validate. Maybe I missed a... So last week I had what was it? An Elgato tool run my discount space. That was fun. I go and work somewhere I don't get stressed out. I think you're always going to get stressed out with work. If you care enough about your work, right? I think stress is kind of a component of it. However, it's the consistent pain of stress that's a problem. Yeah. So okay, so my netstat command and my commands from PowerShell were accurate. There is nothing actually on that port. Yeah, the context switching and new issues, like those are frustrating because you can't make forward progress on anything because you're constantly context switching. Every suggestion I would have would be would not be useful in that case. Okay. Speaking of stress, I stuck a post-it not on my computer saying it's retail software, not life-saving or missiles. Yeah. Yeah. So there we go. We have TCP viewer installed at least now. I don't think it's an elevations problem. I don't think I need to run Rider as admin or anything. Oh no, I think I'd run Rider as admin anyway. So, Spire can't start. Unless something else starts that up. Nope, this doesn't touch anything like that. It's a common thing to see in there. Not where I wanted to get stuck on Monday. What's happened? I haven't touched anything for a week and all things, but for some reason this endpoint can't bind. It says it can't bind, but there's nothing running on that. You a table across databases in SQL Server here based on the table logs. Like log shipping delta, you mean? Or that's That's what that is, log shipping. When you replicate in a database onto another database, that would be log shipping. We have looking healthier. Something has to be blocking 230, but what? So yeah, one line. That was going to be my exact next step, is to change the port, but I was resisting it until I exhausted any other options I had, purely because if it happens again or someone checks it out and then commits back something saying couldn't get it to start on this port, change the port, it like see, I thought it could be something to do with this. Couldn't start the process for the surface, only bind one usage of each socket. Yeah, that's what I did, Rambling Geek. I ran that pretty early on. There was nothing using that port. We used that. We used NetStat and used TCP view, and it did. None of them actually showed. No worries. Does this have conflicting? How do you determine? Actually, how do you determine the run project? When you do this, how do you set the run profile? It sounds like you need to turn it off and on again. It's going to log ship a single table in the DB if I'm reading this right. I mean, log shipping is more of a recovery tool, but not sure it's really made for shipping one table out of a database, but a semi-live duplicate of a table in another DBO. You could look into CDC, change data capture. I mean, Kafka is obviously one of those that's built for that. But depending on how, considering what you're asking for there, is this actually a production issue, or is this a personal development thing? Because there's quite a path you can go down there. Okay, so if we change that back to 230, right? Let's remove this one. I know I've changed two things there. Not exactly a solid debugging solution. If it works now, it'll be more confusing. Nope, still failed. Something's stopping me from touching 230, but not letting me see it. It could be Docker. I do have Sonar, which does have um um hotel stuff in it, but I don't believe it should be. Um, that does need to be started, by the way. We will try. Restart. I mean, definitely could be this. This is not running in Docker and never has done. And that's kind of a random port to be picked up by. Oh dear. A big one for omens, but this is not looking good. 105, something's running my disk out of space again. Oh, that might be me. That might actually be me. That one. Installed some stuff to test yesterday. Come on. I'm starting to think it could be Docker. I just ran a new boiler and now we're running through there next on the recent wave of companies in the UK being targeted by hackers. Oh, joy. Oh, come on. Welcome to the loaded spinner stream. This is high entertainment value. Change data capture seems like the thing I want. Yeah. Because you can monitor a single table with change data capture and you can output it. The challenge is getting it configured to do it. That's why I was asking, is it an actual work problem you're solving or is it a personal thing you're just learning? Because the effort involved, you know. And is it for dev or is it for production? So, yeah. It's why I use Kafka the way I use Kafka for distributing data. When something changes, I publish it to Kafka so that I control that. But I could use CDC in a similar manner. I just don't want to necessarily publish the internals of the tables. I want to publish a managed version of that table. But yeah, CDC might be something worth investigating for you. Log shipping, I believe, is part of regular SQL Server, but it does take effort to set up. And obviously, you'd have to have a second licensed SQL Server in production to be able to run it. Yeah, log shipping is mainly, well, it's a DR thing. And not perfect, because if you, it ships every 20 minutes. So, or X number of meg. So you can have a missing window if your servers get shut down hard. Okay, so Docker desktop service is not running. Task Docker. What could go wrong? Just nuking Docker. I have no idea. Couldn't cause any harm, like, leaving ports locked or anything like that, right? I might need to restart. Oh, there we go. Okay. Uh, like this sort of stuff, I love it when you have an answer and you understand why it did it, but nope, it's not Docker. Okay, we're going to change that port for a second. I do not want to spend 2 hours of my day trying to figure out why a port is not accessible to me. When I restart it, when I restart the machine, I'll probably have to try it again, but we'll leave that till later. I'm not making my day about that. Why don't you want to do that? What, make my entire 2 hour stream about chasing down why a port won't? Yeah, I'm sure that's riveting. I mean, my content is hardly, super entertainment at the best of times, but to sit here and watch me struggle with why a port is locked for 2 hours. Ooh. See those viewer numbers climbing. I mean, it is why I stream, right? So, okay. So the app is working. Can log in with Twitch. Can flashbang everyone that way. There we go. The app is working, right? We can get our API key. Windows Firewall. Hold on. There might be one that does. I don't have Windows Firewall enabled. I don't believe. Maybe not. Let's check that. Let's validate that. You're right, Rambling Geek. It won't always tell you that it's missing things, will it, that way? I believe I did with this one, but you never know. Run as administrator. No, still not there. 21030. Hold on. Let's just validate that. So we know it's running right in a second. 20230. That's what it should look like. Right, so 2002. So now, yeah, still not showing anything. Okay. So you use Kafka for the same function in your application. This is possible because each database is its own aggregate, and you can send notifications based on changes in that aggregate. Yeah, so I use Kafka because I have, like planning items data is stored in planning. When I want to combine tasks and planning together to represent them in the UI, I distribute that data. So I'm using Kafka to produce state. Bunch of repositories could change underlying data. Is that what you intend? Why would a bunch of repositories change underlying data? Yeah, that's the same database or the same tables. So are 3 to 4 different applications touching the same table, which means all their requirements are captured in the same data table. Sorry if the sunlight, I can see the sunlight glaring through the blinds. I'm trying to avoid it. I'm not sparkling. Okay, so 21230 is not locked by anything, according to that. Yeah, that's a bit of a smell, in my opinion. Purely from a responsibilities perspective. Yeah. Because you've got 4 reasons to change, right? Or 3 to 4 reasons to change on the table. And if one of them changes how it interprets a field and the others use it, you can have some quirky side effects. Okay, so the app is working. Let's put this back in here now. Let's just validate what determines what profile it uses. I assume it uses this. I'll even remove that one. I don't even want HTTP. So is the reason Dota that you're looking to do this is to solve that problem where you have then each data, but each application has its own copy of that data or its version of that data? Because I assume they're looking at different aspects of the same table. Okay. That's where when people get messed up on microservices, that's often a problem. They basically create 4 different services to touch the same database. They ignore the part where, yeah, gotcha. To be honest, when I first started looking at microservices, I misunderstood and I actually thought the same thing as a lot of people do. And I started questioning why would we do this when we're just building different services and going to have conflicts with the database and all sorts. Okay, so this works on its own. Let's go to Insomnia. Developers.stream. This would be a pretty good topic for a talk. Cool. Streamer. TV. I'm just testing on the screen. Runners are involved, etc. Yeah. I think to me, I think what is more important there is not necessarily what is, it's more what sort of path, what sort of things tell you because I think what should is always going to be open to interpretation. I think realistically what you're trying to do is look for how do you define those things? How do you identify those things in your source code? Right? Because I could give you an example of, a widget factory with widget services, etc. And my aggregate might not be what you consider the aggregate, because you can't align it to my example very easily. To me, a lot of that stuff is feel, right? I may be wrong, but it works. And my normal smell is if something feels like I'm trying to hack something in, like I'm trying to add something on that doesn't necessarily, it feels extraneous, then that's my measure of, okay, I probably need to break this out. For example, teams in Liquid Sky. It's a simplistic concept, but teams are managed by the organization. So they go into organization management. That feels okay. But then when I started to put the user into the organization management, it didn't feel effective because the teams associated with the user are part of tenant management, not organization management. And that might seem like a weird alignment, being that teams exist in organization management, but all the areas of association in tenant management with the user. And so the concept is represented, but not the actual thing. Well, right now, users a thing, but that's what I'm saying. It's kind of that feel, that path of discovery. There's no right answer off the bat. What matters is, can you change it, right? And oftentimes code is written too rigidly, and it's scary to change. Not necessarily impossible, but scary to change. And scary means you're less likely to change it and less likely to try and correct those concepts and double down on the difficulty level. So identifying boundaries and stuff I've found difficult to do upfront, but better to treat organically and be willing to change if I see a different pattern or a different path appear. Gotcha. You're right. Microservices might be too much by feel. Okay, so that's working kind of. That when that return hello world. It's not going where I think it's going. Oh, of course it's not. It's not going to go anywhere, is it? Oh, of course it's not going to go anywhere. Watch. Okay, that's failing. But if we go into here, we do add API key is Bob. That's a whole different. That's a whole different ball of wax. There you go. Okay. Still get null back. That's not right. Yeah, I suppose it's not actually built to do that, is it? Okay. Um. That doesn't really matter. What matters is the actual API key filters working. So actually, this is where I hit the thing we were actually just talking about, almost the design problem. So now I have this developers.stream.streamer API. That's awesome. Streamer API is sat outside of the other stuff, because the backend stuff, right? Because that's what that is. So this API here is the internal API for managing the components from the UI within developers.stream. This API will be publicly exposed. However, I need this, because this system creates the API key, right? Do I just reference the internals and consider this API to be sat on the outside just the same way as the other API? Do I distribute that data? The quick answer is it's sat on the same circle. It's sat on the API at the same level as this API, right? It's just another aspect of that data internally. Whether it should be or not is not necessarily my concern right this second. I'm not doing anything complex like Liquid Sky here, right, where I'm distributing messaging and stuff. But it is worth considering from a organizational standpoint what this means. So I need to reference the infrastructure, domain, and application of developers.stream in here, because I need to be able to set up the database connection. That being said, I'm tempted. So you see in here, infrastructure contexts. I don't want to necessarily expose all this, do I? However, I think for now I have to. My worry there is this is very much the backend piece, and this will be very much the public API of that. So I've actually got the exact same problem though, so that you're actually describing, in that I now have two applications really talking to the same database structure. Now, one should not be changing that data. I should be marking this as read only, right? But it is something that I have to consider a risk later on. I'll be honest, I'm not too keen on this so far. Going to continue using my normal pattern and not using Milan's design here. Database configuration. Import missing references. I probably need to look at converting this to a packages.json, don't I? I have a tool. What is it? This is switch. I want to switch out to package references, and I believe I installed a tool. Don't think it was a plugin though. No, well done. Okay. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? There's a tool. Someone created a script for this. I ran it on Liquid Sky. I believe, no, I ran it on, what was it on this? I'm doubting what I ran it on. Package references have been around for years, so I'm not worried about doing it, but I want to do it now before I get too far down this. And this is also a good thing to have in place. Is there actually a plugin? Marketplace. No. Sunlight driving me nuts. The tooling in Visual Studio looks like it lets you do it. The reason I'm looking to do it right this second is because obviously this is what's in the API then? Or is it implicit reference? Is this an implicit reference to packages? Okay, so I'm including MPG SQL entity framework. Okay. I'm doing it packages. npgl SQL. Okay, so it's in the API there. Okay. Streamer API. Install that one. Also, upgrade everything. You know, just change everything all at once. It's fine. What's the worst that happens? A presentation on myth busting TDD would be great. Myth busting. I've seen a lot of presentations on TDD, and I'd be honest, I'd be interested in seeing a good one. Not that there haven't been good ones, but what I mean is like a good one to convince the skeptics, a good one to make sure that there's no question as to its use or the flow. You know, if you look at Uncle Bob's stuff, the red green refactor, the you know the traffic light thing, the three hats thing, it often people push back on the speed, and how it slows you down as a developer. And I think, I honestly think that we're often stuck because we're trying to apply techniques that are built for, that they're built using better practices from the ground up in code bases that were not built from better practices from the ground up, right? So it's easier to implement something when the tooling, when the entire framework of the code is in a place where it is unit testable. And I think people kind of don't see the wood for the trees um, when, sorry, um, um, launch settings, app settings. So I never mentioned that because I reference it in the app host. That's why. Um, auth. I don't need auth in this one. So yeah, the same thing as um, Agile. I said this yesterday. I think I've said this a lot actually. Um, when we're talking about Agile and we're talking about story pointing and estimations, etc., that depends on a code base that's in a place that can be estimated. If you're working in a code base where you don't know where the next horror lies, it's really hard to kind of get your head around this concept of estimation because it's inestimable. That's the right term. So what I want to do here is I want to try and um, repository of API key repository. Ithindle and Fictional. You point a silver Devon having lots of bots. How you doing? Var nice. Matches equals await repository dot default then try as digital friends. I gotcha. Um, matching API key spec. So right now we're just going to get specification, API key, single result specification, API key. CTOR. The query dot where q dot key equals API key. That's our spec. And over here, we do want to do we don't want to be tracking things. We don't want to risk changing things in this one. And then this is going to be new matching API key spec. Oh, they don't pass the token in here. Okay. We'll worry about returning an invalid or not available afterwards. Out var, try get value. My brain is not doing this right. If so that validates the API key. Possible null reference. Oh, if not, or API key dot. What is API key here? String values. Ah. So it will implicitly cast it to a string, but it's actually a collection of strings. Interesting. Let's see what happens with that one. I haven't used string values like that before. So that's not unsurprising. Kind of neglected to do even the basics of anything there. So, our database. We didn't do anything. So we should get a null back. Again, what we want to do is filter that out and ultimately put in some. I was hoping to be a little further along with this. Half an hour spent chasing ports wasn't a good idea, but putting some sort of caching in there would be good. There we go. So we've got an API key. It is Bob. And the connection string property is not initialized yet. I figured that was going to be the problem. So we got the database developers.stream app settings, but we don't set that in there either. I don't believe I need service defaults for this. With reference, PostgreSDB. That should be all I need, developers stream. It should be all I need. Like, I'm not opposed to adding service defaults because it's a good thing. Reference. Having OTel and stuff in there is not a bad idea, but let's just make sure that that wasn't the cause there. So build starts this week. Be honest, I'm not excited. There's a lot of AI stuff. If you are interested in AI, definitely something to keep an eye on. I filtered the topics to .NET tools, and 90% of it still had Copilot, LLM, and AI mentioned in it. I wish I was joking there. The in-person sessions definitely contain more non-AI content, but you can't. But that's in person, right? You fixed your MySQL issue. What was it? How did you get it to stop looping? Okay, so why is this not finding RDB? Open API. I mean, we're not doing any mediation right this second. Again, what we're doing here is this API will return our user eventually. Many restarts and things. A great to think to either cancel the upgrade or force it. I'm not sure which. First thing, do backup of data. First thing, make sure you have a place to go back to. And then it doesn't matter what you do next. If it's down, right? So this is not being picked up, is what I'm understanding this as, but our database, I call it. Yeah. Always good to make sure you got stable ground because you end up with You don't want to end up in the world of chasing your tail, trying to fix things because you can't possibly surrender the idea. No. How is that possible? Okay, so we add database in here. I thought that's what that was meant to do. With reference was meant to do it that way. Oh, I'm an idiot. It does if you start it up as part of Aspire. Doesn't automatically give you connection strings. Then it needs a database. I don't have a database. That's kind of fundamental. Aspire starts a database. It's been a long day. It's gonna fail as well. You start the website up now, right? So when the website starts up, the API will start. Is the way it's triggered. And before it errored, and I have no idea why it errored. Oh, is it running? Oh, it looks like it is. There you go. Streamer API is running. Try that again. It's on 7173, not 7273. Ah. Localhost 7173, streamer, TBD gamer. Oh no, it didn't start. Error could not start the proxy for the service. Why is it? One of those days, isn't it? Ah, 71735046. 7273 and 5083. What? Did I include the same? Oh, did I include the same? Helps if you start the right API. So what gave me that then was looking at the numbers, seeing different numbers, and realizing that the only way I could be doing that is if I was adding the same API again. Seems to be my day for dropping the mental ball, apparently. So this is going to be a fun work day. So you're up and running. API key. I need that in a second anyway. So 7273 should get me here. I want to get to this line here. There you go. Matches null. Okay. From that, we get 200. Okay, null. Now let's take this. This will ultimately turn into a starred out value with a copy. Again, ultimately, it would be nice to be able to say, okay, people can log into developers.stream while they're on stream and not have to worry about showing stuff. Okay. Matches should be, yep, we have a match. Run that, and then that returns still null. Interesting. But it does match, so that's good. Okay. Ugh. Update you get packages to latest. Now, what we'll do is we'll kind of revisit this topic of sharing these libraries later on. To me, right now, it doesn't really hurt. Obviously, I think the right thing to do here is kind of create an infrastructure for this and create a context just for this. Because if there's any data that's specific to this API, if we want to allow people to store data or kind of track things in the API at all, then having that read-only DB context is not ideal. Read-only in so much as it's not tracking, by the way, which will keep it faster. And even if we accidentally do save changes, it won't do anything. Include reference to I'll look at doing package reference later. Package reference would be good, purely from a organizational standpoint. Make sure everything's up to date. Okay, so that validates we have an API key, but it doesn't obviously. That does require that, right? Does that? Yeah. That's why. That's why it's returning null. Now it'll return the name. I was returning null, doing the thing and then returning null anyway. So you would always, it would intercept that. This filter's only applied as an endpoint filter on this endpoint. So if we were to introduce another endpoint that doesn't necessarily need the API filter, it will still succeed. All right, let's send that. So we should get back TBD gamer. There we go. Okay, and if we put Bob back in there, we should get null. Yeah. So just verifying that I understand the behavior properly. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So now that's great and all. However, caching is a thing. Also, doing more than just returning a username here is a good idea. So let's do. You may think I have a thing for creating new projects. You may be correct. Yeah. This is going to be class library developers.stream.streamer.application. Interesting. Okay. This is going to be manage new packaging mediator streamer application. I don't think that abstractions is needed there, but we'll about that later. Okay. So, what this is going to be, this is going to reference domain here. And we're going to add a streamer by name query. Okay. Public record query string username public class got one of these rare cases where I now have a query. This is view model DTO level stuff that I always feel that there's never a clean answer for this. Who owns this piece? I think the application layer owns this piece. Let's do view models. Okay. This is why I'm enjoying using GraphQL, because GraphQL kind of takes this away a bit for me. This is a streamer view model. Okay. Public string name. Right. Public IEnumerable class channel public string name gets public string I'm building it this way for right this second, it's fine. Public class actually the tags doesn't matter. With IEnumerable string tags and public string blurb. So I'm going to worry more about getting the data out at this point, considering the time. I want to get the data out of here and then get the we do need to do a pass of things like rate limiting and what's the modern term for this one? Deny, accept deny lists. Stream review model. Result. Ardalis dot result. Stream application. There we go. Okay. Ardalis result. And that's going to be an I query. Okay. So that's handling our query. We're going to need an I repository of streamer here. Again, this is why I didn't want to recreate all this. Which is exactly what I would have had to do had I why is that ambiguous? Namespacing? But domain.streamer using developers.stream.domain. Why don't you like that? There's no namespace called streamer. Namespace name. What am I missing here? Is it because it's part of a path? That's weird. Interesting. That is very strange. I do not know. I didn't think, I felt it had to match. If it was in a different folder, it wouldn't really care. Clearly not the case. But developers.stream.streamer is not an actual namespace. Oh well. We can worry about that later. So this is streamer by name spec. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to query all streamers where they have a channel with that name. So if I go into my Twitch, if I go into a Twitch and you say, oh, look up TBD Gamer, it's going to go, oh, TBD Gamer. Well, that's, you know, this person. If you go into YouTube and use the API from YouTube and you get my YouTube username, TerryBD, it will still give you TBD Gamer because it will give you the Twitch channel because both of those are registered. That's the intent. So you'll be able to find me regardless of the platform that I'm that you're querying from. Specification. streamer, comma, streamer view model. So I'm going to do the mapping of this inside of this. Single result specification streamer domain.streamer streamer view model. So this is going to mean that the actual I need to adjust it. I need to adjust the rules on this one. It's a little bit annoying. String name. So query dot include s goes to s dot channels dot include s goes to s dot tags. Lazy loading proxies are off, so where s goes to s dot channels dot any name equals name, right? Dot select s goes to new streamer view model. So this is going to be name equals s dot name. It's still our name, right? Tags equals s dot tags dot select s goes to s dot dot then include t dot label s goes to label dot text and channels equals s dot select new. Do we want, does it matter? Do we really care about a nested object there? Or we just care about channel URLs? Yeah. Hold on though. I think the platform is actually what we're on there. I think that matters. Channels equals from C in S dot channels. Select new streamer view model dot channel platform. Some fun joins there. And then URL equals C dot. Oh, that's going to be fun, isn't it? Do I store? I don't know if I store the URL in there, do I? Is it hard coded? Yeah. Yeah, we probably hard coded this. So I don't think this is going to let me do this. Let's try it. I was going to say it's not going to let me cast it, is it? Equals C dot Yeah. That'd be good if that works, but I don't think it will do because I don't think this is going to. Don't think that's going to translate to SQL very well, basically. But anyway, this is going to now become var streamer equals repository dot first to default async query dot new streamer by name spec query dot username return result. Okay. So now on this side, we're going to do sender. We're going to do nope, if you don't want that one, build a add mediator. Come on. I thought I added the abstract library. I did. Come on, using mediator. Because this is going to be async var result equals await sender.send new streamer by name dot query. Ah, that's why. Now it'll be available to it. No? It's not going to be available. Okay. Worry about that in a second. So that uses CodeGen to generate that add mediator extension. Return result that is success. Okay. Result.live. Typed results. Yeah, I didn't think so. HTTP result. What's the right way to do this? I'm sticking with minimal API until the APIs are working. They always have not add extra technology, extra pieces, extra technology in here, but getting a little bit harder. What? No, that's not. Result pattern minimal API. I mean, essentially what I'm doing is mapping that result further, right? That's all I'm doing. There is a way of returning. You can. So let's try this. That reads horribly. Let's try it. We just need to get this mediator thing to work first. Add mediator. Database. It's gonna error because mediator's not there. Where did I add it up here? Yeah, I did it there. Oh, services, that's why. It's an extension on services, not on. There you go, that'll work better now. Ambiguous. You're ambiguous. Oh, they haven't introduced it, have they? They have. Oh, because that'd break. Why is that not complaining about ambiguity? Why I really have it included twice somehow? Danny, hello. As long as how are you doing? I'm bold with minimal APIs. Why is that bold? Progress is. Why are you adding it twice? Why is it even ambiguous? It's just not my day for this, is it? Programming thing's hard today. Sean Horn, hello. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get, by the end of the stream, I'm trying to get the ability for having the API return the streamer by name. So whichever name I send in, it should give me back the same streamer. We got the API key validation working. So you have to have an API key. Do you have different versions? Not that I'm aware. Don't have anything included there. Need abstractions in there. Yes, I do need abstractions. That's exactly why we have that. Okay. Because I know that the add mediator is source generated when you include a reference to the package. But builder.services.add. But it's giving me 4 overloads here. There's only So it's like it's referencing it. It is like it's referencing it twice. Go on, clearing it. Clear it up, please. Don't throw an error. The call is ambiguous between methods. Yeah, because it gets that from there. But why? I haven't done this in a while. Visual Studio. I haven't done this in a little while anyway, so I did say that I would always try and build this. Zonge, you never answered. Why, why bold? Why is it a bold choice using minimal APIs? Yeah. If this doesn't work, if this doesn't work from Visual Studio, what I'll do is I'll delete the source generator and see if it does it completely. uh, I think it's probably because I included um come on Visual Studio. It's probably because I included uh the package thinking I was adding media because I've got used to doing it as an extension myself so I can register things um extra. So when I use add mediator, I do it on the builder, which then calls the service collection add mediator, which is probably not the best. Yeah, man. Still going. I don't think it's even got to parsing the code yet, so I'm not holding out hope here. There we go. Okay, it's the same problem. Yes, I needed to keep returning me to the GitHub Copilot thing. Ambiguous invocation. So yeah, there is some dependencies, projects. So that would be this. No, this wouldn't be this, would it? I thought you could see the source generated stuff. Analyzers. Extensions. It's this one that does it though. Nope. The call is ambiguous between the following methods. Dependency injection, mediator, dependency injection extensions, add mediator, and yeah, so it's the same reference. It's cleaned it up, but how do I clean up source gen for this? Can I get it to reanalyze? Is a clean good enough? Hmm. How do I clean up a source gen problem? So my expectation was I'd see the namespace somewhere in here, but we don't see them. They're the actual analyzers, not the. Developers stream application. Oh, I know why. Oh, it is duplicated. This is because I'm using two libraries that both reference add mediator. That's interesting. So that's a problem I've not hit before. So this one, do I need this one? Do I need this one? Do I need this one? Can I make this one go away? Let's see. I might not need to reference the core application. Because things that the API needs aren't necessarily the things that the other API needs. There you go. Okay. So that was caused by the fact that I was referencing both the backend application and my new streamer application. I shouldn't need to reference the application for the backend because this API shouldn't be touching those pieces, right? So I shouldn't be exposing the ability to delete. I just added it by default, right? Because I was adding domain and infrastructure. But this is its own piece of the application pie. So that was caused by that. Yeah. So the problem there is add mediator is an extension method that's created by mediator being used in those libraries because both of them were responsible for that. That's interesting though. So if I wanted to break up my code in any other way, like break up handles and stuff, each one would create its own. Although I probably would just not have the source generator. I probably just need to disable the source generator library. If you updated your source generator and aren't seeing it in the IDE, you have to close and reopen to see the updated generated files. Of course, I'm not fully paying attention, so I'm not certain that that is a thing you're facing. No, this was actually a case of it actually trying to generate the method set twice because both added source generators. What I probably could do there is use the source generator from the API side and put the abstractions on the other side. But I'm not sure what the right way to do that is because my understanding of it is basically you want the fact that you're including that library to give you mediator. You don't want to, like with Jimmy Bogard's mediator, you have to add mediator and then reference the packages or reference the libraries that are going to include the messages, which means you have this hard-coded dependency, this hard coding of something to tell you this other namespace. Okay, so if we do this now, there we go. Oh, it worked. Oh, we have a double slash. But that worked. And if we remove that and do Bob, we should get null. If we put that back and put, so if we do, so we get TBD gamer there. If I do TBD develops, okay, 1 second, let's stop that. So the problem there is this, see that name. That's a bit of a hack. And that's not exactly stunning because it means that I have to rely upon the fact that if I put in a channel, it has to have a slash. But it does give us a platform identifier. So the reason this works is because these platform identifiers have the site addresses built into them. They're not likely to change, right? Making all this configurable and building out as configurable platforms, etc. Yeah, probably could do that because the platforms do have a table of their own. But we'll review that later as a design challenge. Now we should be able to do Bob the streamer gets nothing back. I don't like this. We're going to change this to HTTP status. If we do TBD gamer, we should get me. If we do TBD develops now, we should still get me. There we go. So it finds it by this on this. Oh, interesting. I do not have a kick platform registered, right? Oh, I do. I think there's a kick registered. Yeah, with no valid link back. So we need to make sure we only show where C dot is verified. I believe that is. Yeah. So we only want verified channels. If I've added a channel, I've never actually verified it. I don't want it to be listed. That's something we have to tinker with again. So that makes that okay, but I don't want to return. I don't want to return that result, right? Convert. What problem does it solve? We actually have that. Please tell me it shows that as a that'd be awesome if he did that. Does he actually do that? Manage NuGet packages. Or adds ASP.NET Core filters to translate from result to action result. This might actually do this implicitly. I guess we'll find out shortly. Let's try that. One more go. No, it doesn't. No. Come on. It doesn't provide it for minimal API. That's the problem. Minimal API integration. Is it really that easy? There we go. Let's see. It'd be nice to wrap it properly and represent it. But this will be the last test of this today because I've run over again. There you go, 404 and 200. There we go. Nice, as a proper object. Awesome. Okay, so we have an API in place. We have basic API key validation. The next thing to do there is to put rate limiting and whatnot into there, into the API. So I've been doing a bit of investigation on that on Friday. But it starts to take shape, right? Yeah. So with that said, I do have to run. It is late. I've got a job to do. Progress without, with a bit of struggle, but we are there. We do have an API in place. And yay. It's starting to take shape. I think after this, once we get the rate limiting and stuff in, the only thing to do is clean up that UI, and then essentially the first version can go out. If you have any thoughts, opinions, questions about this in general, you're more than welcome to share. My plan again would be to fork this once it's in a good place, so that I can actually produce a version using some CI/CD to actually use the actual site, and then I can pull changes in later. We are getting there. Things are taking shape. I will push these latest changes now. I'll get these changes pushed, and we'll proceed there. And coming back around it, I know you didn't actually follow up zones, but using minimal APIs right now is purely because there's no benefit in adding extra layers of endpoints, etc. around it. I don't want to build a framework for minimal APIs. I don't want to clean that up that way yet. We can have a conversation over, because my preference is to use fast endpoints, right? Not to use minimal APIs. Oh, interesting. I dismissed the ads twice, and Twitch now tells me pre-rolls are on. Punishing you for using your delay ads. Anyway, so I get this pushed. Minimal APIs we will talk about as well. So as long as if you do have opinions, I would love to talk through that. Fast endpoints confuse you. Minimal API doesn't. You'd rather, again, to clean up minimal API, you need to put some sort of structure in there. Fast endpoints just does that. So there's not really much difference than that. But be happy to discuss that further in any form. I don't get fast endpoints. Yeah. Well, we can always talk about that on or off stream. But anyway, I got to get to work, so I will catch you later. Don't forget, if you do like .NET content, one line is the dogs know when the stream ends. Lion is another .NET developer, fantastic .NET developer who works on Blazor, much more competently than I do. I assure you. Highly worth checking out. Streams Wednesdays through Fridays, with the community days on Friday, which is always a good time if you can attend. Work commitments seem to tie me up recently. But anyway, we're going to roll raid Maybe, because Maybe is working on his... Oh, he's just gone BRB. Okay, I got to raid Maybe anyway. Maybe's an awesome streamer. He's working on his app, Barely Fit. He's actually he's getting ready for launch. He's bug fixing it, etc. Made it just say hi. Hi, Mars. Good morning. So yeah, we'll go raid Maybe. Maybe he's working on Barely Fit. Fantastic streamer, talented dev, and well worth hanging about for. Although language and opinions there may not align with what I do. So anyway, take care. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you around. Thank you very much. Bye all.